sexual addiction, it still exists. It's not going anywhere.
You can't see it yet, but gotta feel your emptiness. Along the way, you'll make some progress. You gon' have to trust the process. Look at me, I know I've been down this road before. I wrestled God to let me go, but I'm so grateful He said no. This is not your final call. This is not the last act. You gon' take it all. Just hold on. I know He gon' bring it back.
What's up, you guys? It's Whitney. Welcome to my channel. If you have been here before and you're back, thank you. I appreciate you. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Anyways, so this video I'm going to kind of talk about, because I've talked about before my sexual addiction. I talked about how it came about, and I talked about, you know, things that's happened to me that I feel like basically that caused me to have an unhealthy relationship with sex. Basically caused me to use it in a way that other people use cocaine or heroin or alcohol or whatever, Tylenol. So I never really went into basically what that's like to deal with on a day-to-day basis. Especially for me, I have been trying really hard, and I think I've been doing great over the past year and some change on using other coping mechanisms, or identifying and trying to identify when I am being sexually active for reasons other than me just wanting to be sexually active, if you get what I'm saying. Where I have to start now evaluate what's going on in my life and figure out, okay, are you stressed out right now? And maybe this is why you're being a little risky or whatever. I've been doing pretty good with that. Or even just, sometimes it's not even being intimate with another person. A lot of times it's not even being intimate with another person. A lot of times it's also just that need to release, where you're intimate with yourself and you start to realize that you're being intimate with yourself a lot more than usual, and it's the urge to release, although you've released about 10 times, just ain't going away. It's like your body's constant need for that hormone. I forgot what it's called, but there's a hormone that's released, that good feeling hormone. Same thing when, you know, people smoke cigarettes or whatever the case may be, but it's a hormone released into your body, and it creates this relaxed feeling. It's a physical thing, people. It's mental, but it's a physical, and all of it ties together. So yeah, I realized I never really talked about that part. I usually was I really only talked about the breakdown of what happened to me growing up. And if you haven't seen those videos, you can go find them on my channel. One I think is called Sexual Addiction. Anyways, they have sexual addiction in the title, so you can go look for those. Anyway, so I never really talked about the struggles, really the day-to-day struggles of dealing with it, because, and I should, so I'm going to now. Anywho, if you have not, before I continue on, if you have not already, and you want to just support your girl, give me a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and then there's a little bell next to it. Hit that button too, so that you don't miss anything. I talk about all kinds of things. I talk about sexual addiction. I talk about my life as a single mom with 3 kids. I talk about the struggles of, you know, depression, anxiety, and also my weight loss journey. So other things too, like people, I'm not even about to go into this that crazy man right now. But yeah, I talk about a variety of things that I feel like other people can relate to. My channel is also a channel for me to reflect on self. So a year or so from now, or 10 years from now, I can look back at where I was and look at where I am. And and the change that has occurred. And let's say I'm having a day where I'm falling apart, because that happens. We're normal, right? Let's say I'm having a day where I'm falling apart. I can go back and I can reflect and see in the past, how have I managed that? How have I, gotten through hard times, and use this channel as my video diary, if I should say. Anyways, so like I said, if you are new here, welcome. I appreciate you for even giving me the slightest bit of your time, because you don't have to do that. And if you're not new here, I love you. Thank you, and I appreciate you always. And like I said, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button to support your girl. Now, let's get back on topic. Someone might ask me, how do you know if you have a sexual addiction? I made a video about that. I don't want to make this video too long, so I don't want to go into all of that. But if you watch this video, you might get a gist of an idea on how you might know. So, anyways, basically, my day-to-day life, living with this addiction that years ago I feel like controlled me. No longer do I feel like it controls me. There are times, and when I say controlled, let me break that down. I mean, it destroyed, or it was priority in my life. I put everything above, like everything that I should have been doing, like focusing on school, focusing on my kids, focusing on, financially bettering myself, focusing on loving myself. Everything that I should have been doing was kind of pushed to the side. You know what I'm saying? All because I'd wake up with a constant urge to climax, constant need to. There was days where I could be in the bed all day long and just climax back to back to back. So it kind of like some days I would barely eat. But when I reflect now back to those days, I was so stressed out. My mom had just died. Like, this is back, I want to say 2008, 2009. And I could just break down. I got pregnant with my son in 2006. I was only 17 years old, and then I was in a young parents program. So I got pregnant with him while I was in a group home for teenagers or whatever that were aging out of DCF system. Then from there, they put me in a young parents program to prep me to be a mom and help me get on my feet. They helped me get set up with transitional assistance and all kinds of stuff. But then shortly after my son died, like a little bit after my son, mom. My mom died, which was when my son was like a year and some change. She died, and it's just like I kind of felt like there was no hope at all. Like, life just fucking sucked. My mom had been in and out of jail and basically out of our life my whole life. And so her coming out of jail, she was in there for 2 years. She was sober because she was forced to be. So her coming out, I was super excited. Like, yeah, now that she's sober, drugs out of her system, she has a new grandbaby, what's gonna make her want to go back? And long story short, she was sick because of the drugs that she had put in her system and the tools that she used that caused her to be sick. And then she had to have surgery, and she ended up dying because of malpractice. So that's a long story short. I fell apart. It was like all the hope that was there as far as like hoping to hopefully have a relationship with my mom, and my son to have a relationship with my mom. And then I didn't have one with my father really at all. We weren't close, and I didn't really have anybody. And I felt like, my family I did have didn't know me, because from the age of 12 to then, I hadn't really had them in my life. I was in and out of group homes and programs and foster homes and residentials and DYS and all kinds of stuff. So they didn't know me. They had no idea who I was as a person, and it was really hard to connect to them and to get them to understand. And so it always seemed like I always got attention from men. That was never hard, and it never is. Never hard to get that attention or to feel wanted by a man, even if it's false want. You know what I'm saying? Like, that was never an issue for me ever. So I kind of had fell into a cycle of, all these men want to take me out. Oh, you're so beautiful, this, let me spoil you, this. When in reality, it was usually a bunch of older men trying to get their rocks off, trying to show a young lady how to feel and stuff, and teach you new things and all kinds of stuff like that. But that became, even before, like I told y'all, if y'all watch other videos, the stuff that happened to me as a child. But even then, now you come out the program, you done been away from guys from all this time. I'm pregnant. The first freaking I got in the program, I got pregnant. So it's like, I don't know. I started like sex literally because I just didn't have any, and didn't know how to comprehend what a healthy relationship was. Sex literally was like, I'd wake up all day, every day with that on my mind. Like, I want to have sex. I want to have sex. I want to do this. I want to do that. Or I just wanted to be up under a guy and the guy would want to have sex. So it was like, okay, that became my norm. And that became, the way I was relieving my stress then. I did it. I've always done it. In like the programs, there was no guy, but there was these, and I just remember being in the program, and every night faithfully, or I'd go into the shower in the bathroom and being there for hours, and just that's how I released whatever was going on in here, in my soul and everything. That's how I released. I didn't know any better. And so when I had got out, and when my mom died, and the stress really came rolling, because now I was going also into a transition where, it went from, I was getting up, having people tell me when to get up, when I can go eat, when you can go shower, having chores, having a whole lot of structure, and having people just on your back, like all day, every day, basically holding your hand through life, taking you, driving you everywhere you need to go, keeping up with your appointments for you, to now I have a baby, and they strip all of that structure and all of that away, and now they put me in my own place, and I'm lost. Stressed, lost, confused. I'm not used to not having structure and not having someone tell me what to do. And the only type of anything that I had coming around was men. And so it kind of was like a ball of destruction, like just a tumbling ball of destruction. And that's kind of how my young mommyhood started out. And it was hard being a mom with a little boy who was just hyper and all over the place. And anyways, so when life gets stressful and when life gets almost unbearing, and or when depression starts to kick in, my body naturally kicks up this urge, like, and it's an urge that does not go away. People be like, oh, just don't think about it. Oh, well, if you stop thinking about it for a little bit, it will go away. And I remember my cousin used to tell me that, and I'd be like, what? No, it don't. Like, I just would never understand how that would happen for her. Like, what? It goes away? It does not. Someone like me, it does not. And it's like a demon inside of you that's like screaming like feed me type of thing. And that's how it feels. Like your body is just like clenching and squeezing and clenching and squeezing, and you're so stressed out, and you keep thinking, okay, well, if I just climax, I'll feel better. And it don't work. Okay, maybe I need to climax one more time and I'll feel better. And it don't work. And then you just keep going and going and going and going, and it don't work. Then you go, okay, well, maybe I need that physical, that extra person, that physical. Maybe it's more than that I need. And it don't work. And it's just never enough. And that's because I believe after, you start feeling worse, like you don't feel better temporarily. That might be like, oh, a relief, but you don't feel better. And then if you go do something with someone, you feel worse afterwards, especially if it was like a random, or whatever the case, you feel worse afterwards. And then it's just like I used to, when I was younger, look at guys like, you're just a nut. I would never like take them serious. I would never try and be in a relationship. I would never, I just didn't want any parts of it. And I didn't want to be vulnerable. I did not want to open up. Like, I was always open about things that happened to me, but I did not want to be vulnerable here and open up my heart. And literally, guys, to me, when I was younger, was just food. He's gonna take me out to eat. Food, a new experience or whatever, because they take you, show you somewhere you never been, or whatever the case may be. Maybe shelter, because I didn't have nowhere, like when I was younger, like 13, 14, 15, 16, maybe homeless. I didn't have nowhere, was out on the street because I ran away from the program. So shelter, that came with a price, but that's how I viewed men. Like, no man could have ever gotten me to be like, I love you. I'd laugh. I'd laugh. It was bad. Like, I'd laugh and I'd play, or I'd play the same mind games that they play. Like, oh, you gonna be my wife one day. Yeah. And play along and be like, knowing damn well I'm about to have him drop me off to the next person's house. It'd be like, and I was so open about it. And I think that's what threw people off, because I was just like, but made them like me more, because I was so like, oh, well, I told this dude that I'm gonna meet him at 11 o'clock or whatever. So if you want, you could just drop me off either down the street from his house, or you could drop me off here. And men would be like, is this serious? And now that I think back at, I'd be like, damn, I was bold. Like, I just did not care. And with not caring, I didn't care how I relieved my stress, and that's how I did it. But that has became, over the years, it had became so normal, I didn't even see nothing wrong with it. Like, even my behavior on social media, that my daddy, my grandma, my cousins, my aunties, all that was on, I was just so out there. I just did not care, and I didn't see anything wrong with it. Nothing. Like, I felt like that was normal. That's what you do, and nobody's opinions even mattered to me, because I felt like, and they still don't, but even more so then, I just felt like So y'all didn't do shit for me. So why the hell should I censor myself? You're gonna learn who the fuck I am today. And if you don't like it, too fucking bad. Bye. That was my personality back then. I'm still very much so like that, but not to that extent. Like, I've added loving myself to the equation. Back then, I did not care. I did not love myself. I did not care. I didn't care if I was to go somewhere and some dude was to kill me and put me in the ditch. Like, I'd leave going with random people, expecting that might happen. And I did not care. Not even a little bit. Like, it's like, oh, well, if that happens, it happens. It's my time to go. Right? And it took a long time for me to start caring. A very long time. So, since then, I've evolved a lot. I've evolved and really started trying to figure out who I am. You know, who are you? What do you really like? What caused you to tick? I want to say this started around 2015, 16, around that time. I was in a relationship with a very narcissistic man. And I was much bigger than what I am today. I was like 260 pounds. And I really disliked myself. And I was so depressed, crying all the time. Just really didn't just didn't want to be here. I wanted to die. And this man, he had came into my life and he uplifted me, made me feel like the most amazing person in the world, the most beautiful woman in the world, only to learn all of my weaknesses and then turn around and use them against me, and break me and tear me down. He became very possessive and abusive, and to the point where I had to get away from where I was living to get away from him. Because he would drive by, and it was just bad. But it was around that time that I started really finding myself. Around the time I started my locks. I started my locks September 1st, 2017. And I started digging deep into trying to understand what the purpose is as a human being on this earth, and trying to break down the stories within the Bible and take what I think was true and find the history behind it, and just our history as people, and really try to understand why I ticked and why I did certain things that I did, and why certain behaviors to me were so normal that weren't. And then that's when I had went into therapy, and I really realized a lot of this had stemmed from my childhood upbringing and things that happened to me then. If you want to know those things, like I said, go look at the other sexual addiction videos. I go in detail about things that happened to me. But the things that happened to me then, and those are the things and triggers that caused me to behave in such abnormal ways. And I really started trying my hardest to better myself and understand myself and grow and love myself. And trust me, it's not easy. Even still, it's it's a tiny bit like hard. But then it was so hard because I didn't feel like I was deserving of that. I didn't feel like I even should be here. So why do I need to love myself? It was so hard. It was so hard. Like, what the hell is there to love? And it took a lot. It took a lot of growing and a lot of believing in myself to realize, girl, what are you even talking about? Like, today I'm that bitch. You can't tell me shit. I'm that bitch. I'm dope as fuck, and I know I'm dope as fuck, and I am strong. I am strong. I done been through some shit. I done came through some shit, and I am still standing, and I am still going, and I am still climbing, and nothing's gonna stop me. But ask me that a year ago. Ask me that a couple years ago. I would never be able to come out and say that because I didn't feel that way. And although I may stumble, I'm that bitch. So Anyways, I don't want to make this too long, but let me so not but so let me go back into moving forward today. What is it like dealing with, you know, sexual addiction? Because an addiction never goes away. I don't care what nobody says. Once you are alcoholic, you're always an alcoholic. You are constantly managing how not to turn back to being how you were before. Once you are a drug addict or a substance abuse user, you will always be that. And it's a constant daily struggle not to tumble back and fall back into those same behavioral patterns of coping inappropriately. So today, you know, now that I have developed this love for myself, it's still a struggle. Like, I have days where I'm stressed out, but I'm more conscious of it now, and I understand, okay, the consequences of my behaviors, and I understand what I don't want and what I do want for myself. I want health. So I don't want to be doing risky things. I want respect. So I don't want to be doing things that's going to cause people to lose that, you know, and that means even just myself. I want to be able to respect myself. I want to lead by example. So I don't want to be doing things that's going to cause my little ones to see and be like, that's okay. Okay, I didn't know I could do that too. But it's a lot different now dealing with it, because I get stressed out and I find other means to deal with it, like exercise. That tends to give me the same feeling, the same release that I need, like that adrenaline or whatever it is. It's a hormone too that is, when you're done exercising, that is released, that just feels amazing. And then when there's times where maybe that won't work, and so I've learned to invest in toys. Get you some toys, and not to be ashamed to use them, use them, because it's better that you use those than you go sleeping with people or whatever. And I've also learned to kind of value reputation. Now, I'm not one to really care about what people think of me, but at the end of the day, I don't want people also to view me as, just loose all over the place. Because although from the outside looking in, that might have been what it looked like, really, it's a complete misunderstanding of what's really going on. You get what I'm saying? So I don't know how to explain it, but it's a complete misunderstanding of what's going on. The surface is just that, the surface. But underneath the surface is deep. It's deep. And it's not always what it appears to be. So that's really like, I don't like being misunderstood. I should say that. I don't. It doesn't feel good to be misunderstood. So I've learned to care enough, to be conscious enough of my feelings and what's going on in my life, to where I can decide if I'm dealing with this person because I want to, or are you just doing something right now because you're stressed out and you need to release, or even like too much. I think masturbation can be bad. Too much can be bad. When it gets to a point, because I have these days still where I just can't, no matter how much, it's just like I can't release. I just can't. It's just, I don't know how to explain it. Like, there's been times where I've wanted to cry. I've wanted to cry because no matter how many times I climax using that toy, no matter how many, anything. It's just like it's a physical feeling. My tight body just won't loosen up, and it's constantly like squeezing and like I need to release type of thing. And so I turn to maybe writing a poem about what I'm dealing with, or trying to break down what it is that's causing me stress. And then instead of dealing with it that way, I try and deal with it and how can I relieve some stress from myself right now. What can I do? What can I plan? Let's just say it's moving or whatever the case may be. How can I plan this out to where I'm not as stressed out? What resources do I have? Let me get a pen and paper. Let me write down a plan. And a lot of times when I attack my stress that way and like more logical and try and really plan and dig myself out of whatever hole I might have created, or whatever anxiety I might be feeling, because a lot of times it's the anxiety too, and just try to either distract myself as far as or not distract, because that doesn't really help, but I try to uplift myself and let myself know, hey, listen, you're gonna get through this, and you are blessed, you're smart, like you're gonna figure it out, like you have everything else in your life, and don't stress yourself out about it, because at the end of the day, you cannot change what's happening. You can only change how you deal with it, and you can only try to change the future and change the outcome. Do you get what I'm saying? And masturbating all day is not gonna do that. So I've evolved a lot. The person that I am today is completely different. Do I deal with those same struggles? Hell yes, I do. And is it hard sometimes? Hell yeah, I do. Like, I'll catch myself texting, someone that I was like, I'm not gonna deal with or whatever during those stressful times, because I need that relief. And then immediately after, I'm like, what are you thinking about? Hell no. I wish I could take the text back. On Messenger, you can. Facebook Messenger. But if you text someone, you text them. Sometimes I'm like, damn it. Shit. Now, I don't really feel that way. I don't really want their company. I really don't want them around me. I really don't want that. And so I catch it now ahead of time. Before, I'd go along and do it and then be like feeling like after, like, ugh, I hate myself. Now I catch it ahead of time. So yeah, I don't know. It's hard to explain. If you deal with it, then and you can resonate, and then you understand what it is I'm saying, and you understand exactly what I'm talking about. For some people, they'll be like, girl, just shut the fuck up, keep your legs closed. It ain't that easy. I mean, now, it is. But what I'm saying, until someone dealing with, same thing with drugs, people be like, oh, just stop doing them. It ain't that easy. Someone has to really go deep within themselves and to figure out why they even started doing that shit in the first place, what keeps them doing it, the guilt, you know what I'm saying, how to deal and manage with guilt once they come down off of that high. Because a lot of people, they want to quit, but they can't deal with their mind state when they're not high. You get what I'm saying? They can't deal with the reality of their life around them. So let's just say, for example, my mom. She never wanted to continue doing that, but she'd always tell me, and she wrote letters to me saying, It's when she's not in that state of mind where she starts feeling guilty for not being the mom that she is, and then she starts feeling like she's not a good person, and that she, you know, depression kicks in, and then she starts thinking about when people and things happen that force you to think about your childhood traumas and everything like that. And some people are not strong enough to deal with that. You know, they, instead of dealing with that, they're just like, fuck this shit, I don't want to feel this, I want to get high because I don't want to feel this. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. People do it with food. I too struggle with food, sweets, and I'll talk about that in another video. But it's just like, whatever comforts you a lot of times becomes your addiction. Some people might not even realize they're addicted to something until they really realize they're addicted to something. You get what I'm saying? Anyways, I don't want to go too long. This video is long enough. Hopefully I was able to answer any questions that anyone might have had. Yes, sexual addiction, it still exists. It's not going anywhere. And if you struggle with it, it won't ever go anywhere, just like any other addiction. It's how you learn to manage your addiction. Get a coping skill box, get whatever, really sit down and learn you, and learn why you tick, and learn what you like to do to relieve stress other than that, because that ain't the only thing. Like me, I like to sing. I might not be the best, but I like to sing. I like to write poetry. I like to listen to meditation. I like to learn new things. Dive into something that's gonna better you and start learning to love you. And once you do that, you will evolve into someone you never thought you could be. So I'm gonna leave this video at that. I love you guys. If you have not already, thumbs up this video. If you want to, you don't have to, but if you want to, give me a thumbs up and share it with someone that you think might have a sexual addiction, because they might need to hear this. They might need to hear. And if it's you and you're watching, don't feel afraid to say, hey, listen, that video you made, I can relate 100%, or I can relate 50%, or I can relate a little bit, whatever. Don't be afraid to say that, because that's actually what made me feel better about talking about it. Because the first video I made about this, I was just like, I don't know if I'm being smart making this video, because I didn't want people to get the wrong idea. Especially men tend to see the title and then they automatically don't watch it, and they be like, I got a sexual addiction too. Like, no. Go watch the video and then come back to me. But the ones who actually watched it, and a lot of men and a lot of other people came to me and said, damn, like, I thought I was the only person who felt that way or who dealt with that. It felt really good to know that I'm not alone. So I appreciate those. I appreciate those comments. I appreciate people reaching out to me and letting me know, hey, listen, you're not the only one. I deal with that too, because I don't feel so different. It doesn't make me feel so abnormal. And hopefully this video will make someone feel not so abnormal. Anyways, I love you guys. About to get off of this, and I will talk to you guys soon. I don't like to make promises and be like, I'll be back on later, or I'll be back on tomorrow, because as we know, like I said before, I just not good with consistency, because life throws me constant loops and holes, and I'm not good with consistently uploading videos on here. And so I don't want anybody lingering around tomorrow waiting for something. When you see me, you see me. Anyways, love you guys.
So much pain. What don't kill you make you stronger. Even if it lasts a little longer. It's working together for my good.